All right, let's take a peep into London with Juliana on board. Good morning, Juliana.
Good morning, Chime.
So, coronavirus continues to make headlines. UK has recorded one death, and the government is working with supermarkets to ensure that people self-isolating will receive food. Now, is UK already experiencing some kind of panic buying?
Absolutely. The psychology of panic buying has definitely entered into the shores of Britain. Supermarkets are almost struggling because there are so many fears, so many concerns. A lot of people stockpiling as they did when it was time to run up to Brexit, and people are doing the same thing here. Ocado, they're the online supermarket giant. They issued a warning to customers saying, you know, if you're doing your regular Saturday shop, please book early because all of our slots are running out pretty fast. Lidl as well, they're the European discount supermarket. They say they're struggling to keep up with the demand of disinfectant. And of course, as what we're seeing in Nigeria, antiseptic gels and disinfectant hand gels are really swinging off the shelves from Boots. So Boots have actually said only one antiseptic gel per person. But yes, of course, people are really concerned, particularly those who are looking after the elderly. We haven't had any reassuring figures as of yet, but a lot of people are saying that most of the deaths are concerning people who are old and vulnerable. So those who look after people in that category are definitely the ones who are taking everything they can off the shelves.
All right, away from coronavirus. The long-awaited National Infrastructure Strategy is to be further delayed and won't be released next week as expected. Any idea why this is so?
Well, there are a number of reasons, really, Chimete. One of the main reasons I suspect is because Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, is brand new. And of course, he was parachuted in after the quite shocking resignation of Sajid Javid. The budget is coming up next Wednesday, March the 11th. And of course, now all of the focus and the attention is on COVID-19 and really swelling up quite an already swelled NHS budget. So that seems to be exactly what they're focusing on. This national infrastructure budget was really a dream of David Cameron, two prime ministers ago, the Conservative leader, and that was because they wanted to bring digital infrastructure and transport connections to regions that felt they were ostracised from London. Of course, Prime Minister Boris Johnson also made that his pledge during his campaign manifesto. So it's definitely still in the works, but we're not expecting it next week in Rishi Sunak's first budget. The first budget since October the 2018, actually. So it's a very long time since we've actually had a budget in this country. But a lot of people are saying that it's expected around May. And of course, with Flybe's collapse, with HS2, with COVID-19, there's still lots and lots of planning they need to do before they can release that information.
Okay, bring us up to speed with early numbers and, of course, corporates to watch today.
Well, in the UK and I think really across the world, all traders' screens are filled with red this morning. The FTSE 100 has made a dismal start. It's down not triple points, but certainly double points. The pound is 0.07% up against the dollar. And really, all of the attention is still focused on COVID-19. There's still lots of reports that even Europe may enter into a recession if these figures still continue to dwindle. We do have US labour market reports coming up later in the day, and usually that's really good for the Dow Jones and the S&P 500, but not today as expected because, of course, coronavirus is dominating sentiment.
All right, thank you, Julian. I'm sure we'll get update from you much later in the day. And for update on today's trading activities at the Nigerian Stock Exchange, let's talk to Temple. Hello, Temple. So, does it look like the market will close positive for the week?
Yes, it's looking like that because we've been able to see some good recovery this week thanks to the whole efforts being pushed out by multilateral financial institutions like the World Bank, the IMF, committing some billions of dollars, to the fight against coronavirus. And of course, locally earlier, we talked about what the Aliko Dangote Foundation is doing with some 200 million naira being committed to the fight against coronavirus. All of these moves, developments, coming from the external and the internal space has actually motivated a lot of investors to return to the market. Equity space not been left out of these. Lately, we've seen some good, some bullish sentiment, in the market. Up until yesterday, when we saw it simmering a little, marginally. We had some marginal gains yesterday. Today, we also, as we speak, seeing some marginal gains. We've seen the earnings also, helping the situation. Guarantee Trust Bank has dividends, being proposed to some investors. Zenith Bank, Stanbic IBTC, Africa Prudential, UBA, quite a number of the companies that have actually released the numbers, companies with positive fundamentals, have actually enjoyed positive reactions as well from some investors. For the like of Guarantee Trust Bank, which in fact, in spite of the fact that it has a flat gross earnings for 2019. It's actually declaring 2 naira 50 kobo. We saw how investors actually bet on that particular stock yesterday, and of course 2 days ago. When the coronavirus thing hit the market, we had seen GT Bank, which is Guarantee Trust Bank, falling to as low as 22 naira, 21 naira plus, 22 naira plus, and eventually some smart investors who are really positive and bullish about the Nigerian market picked up those pieces and were able to put their money on it. Now that it is trending around 23, 24 naira, it's time for them to take profits, those gains, that they've seen. And that's why we have a bit of a marginal decline on that. But overall, the market is looking good. We're seeing some 0.06% increase now in the key benchmark indices of the market. So yes, we should actually be close and positive. But I should add before we go that the stock exchange is also currently observing the International Women's Day, which is for Sunday, and they're engaging some key top women, top executives, to discuss the theme, each for equal in the market. That's something we should actually watch out for, Chimeze.
Now, how would you describe the trading week that is ending today, and what is your outlook for next week?
I think it's been very positive so far this week. The positions that have been taken in the markets this week has actually helped the investments, in the market space. We had seen that on Friday alone, the indices of the exchange dropped below 27,000 psychological line. This week it's peaked again from 26,000 plus, and I think we're touching 27,000, and I do hope that we will cross that today. We've also seen some good additions, to the equity capitalization of the market. And of course, all of this is encouraging to a lot of the foreign portfolio investors who had earlier been risk-off, when the whole COVID-19 outbreak, hits the Nigerian market. We've heard from the management of Lafarge what they're doing on their part. Their plant is not shut down. So all of those negative reactions that we had seen towards their shares have now simmered. We've also seen what the federal government is doing in the area of pumping out funds, towards the fight against that. All of these have motivated investors to return to the market. Local retail investors, local institutional investors. We've seen PFAs also bringing back funds into the space, and of course some foreign portfolio investors also, renewing their appetite in the market. So it's that's basically what we've seen played out in the market this week, and I think that has really, really been encouraging enough for some retail investors who really are after, some short-term investments, profits, taking, which is what we will see next week. You'll see folks that have actually benefited a bit from the fall that we saw on Friday and Monday. You see them now taking out their profits by Tuesday or next week, basically, when the market resumes. Some are already doing that right now, Chimeze.
All right, Temple, thank you. Let's continue to be optimistic on the market. And it's on that note that we'll draw the curtain on today's edition of the program, and of course for the week. Thank you for watching. I'm Chimeze Obi Uwago.